Lori from Lori's Little Bit of Crafting. I'm going to plug in my power and hopefully that doesn't mess anything up. So far, so good. So welcome. This is Lori from Lori's Little Bit of Crafting coming to you on Saturday, July 19th at 11:18 p.m., which is Central Time here in Wisconsin. It was a pretty warm one today. I had my guest stamper with me earlier today. If you didn't check out her video, her class, go take a look. It's only like 12 minutes. She likes to see how many people show up for her videos, so give her a like. She gets a kick out of that, and I like seeing her excited about her crafting. I think if you have young children that you work with crafting, whether it's cards like this or doing other things, building things, I think is so important to their development. So I love having her craft with me. Anyway, the last few nights I have been involved with Stampin' Up's virtual album retreat, and I've shared the loose layouts of my month-to-month scrapbook. So there's 12 two-page spreads. It was a great retreat. Stampin' Up has announced they're going to do another one next year. The dates are not released, so that's something else to look forward to, and I will, at least at this point, be definitely participating in that as well. So I thought it was great, great instruction. The people from Stampin' Up, we had different people for each month. Some people did more than 1 month, but it's not like one day we had all the same person showing us all of the layouts. We had 4 different people each day to share the layouts. So tonight I'm kind of taking a break from the scrapbooking marathon from the last 3 days, and I'm kind of getting myself back to some cards here. Although I am really enjoying the scrapbooking stuff, that's not my forte, but it was certainly enjoyable. So if you've been crafting with me here online, may recall when I was using the Sunflower 3D embossing folder. This is gorgeous. I also did a presentation last week. I lose track of time already. July 12th, I think, was the day. I actually kind of did a demonstration, and I came up with, I don't know, like 10 different ways to use the embossing folders. So I may very well do a kind of a marathon class, if you will, that shows the different ways that I came up with. And there's more, way more than 10, I'm sure. And if you watch other people, they probably have different ways of doing maybe even the same things. But that's something that's kind of on my radar. And tonight we're going to use up some pieces from that era. I'm also using a piece of 6x6 Designer Series paper from this Everyday Skies. So one side is all like, basically like sky images, cloudy kind of things. But the back sides are different. They're not really scenic. They're just designs in different colors. This one looks kind of like stars to me. That one looks like paintbrushes. But I pulled out this Cajun Craze one that just has like some stripes on it. And I ran it through the mini corrugated embossing folder because I like texture, and I thought with the rustic look of the sunflowers, a rustic layer with the corrugated would look cool as well. So I ran that through my embossing folder already, or my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. When you do that, you will just use your base plate and your number 4 plate. You don't need the shim, you don't need the cutting plates, just the base and the number 4 because it is 3D. All right, so we're going to cut this down to size. I'm not sure what size yet. I am also going to use a Blackberry Bliss card base. So if you've watched me before, you know I take my 8.5 by 11. I score it once down whatever middle point I'm going to be doing the layout for my card. So this one I've scored it at 4 1/4, and then I turn it and just cut it once. So then I have 2 card bases ready to go. So let me get this burnished so it's nice and flat. And let's decide how we want to cut this down. I think I want to just have a little bit of, I want this to go top to bottom on the card, I'm pretty certain. So it'll just depend on how wide I want to make it. So let's pull out the trimmer. And I'm using this trio of colors because it worked pretty well here. So I think I used peach pie, maybe pumpkin pie, and Cajun Craze on here, or I may have just used Cajun Craze and did light. I don't know. Basically what I did here is I used the Blackberry Bliss. I inked up the top of the embossing folder, ran it through, and that's how I got all of the dark. Now this one's kind of rustic looking because I didn't heavily ink the top of that embossing folder, but you get the idea. And then I took my blending brushes and added color to the embossed parts of the flowers. All right, so I'm reusing that, and I have 2 to choose from. We'll see where it works out with the sentiment. And then I just had a circle. I don't even know. It's probably just a 2-inch, either 1 7/8 or a 2-inch circle. It was in my old olive, so I'm just using it because why cut another one if I don't have to? And then I also used the, oh, this is in here upside down. Let's take this out. I used the Impressions of Bloom dies for these leaves and the stem with the leaves. And I just cut 2 sets of those. So those are already cut out. So those of you who are joining me, let me know where you're from. Feel free to add some comments. I always welcome suggestions. All right, so the next thing I've got is the sentiment. I'm doing just to note. I have some thank you cards to send out. We were at a cookout with some friends today, and I want to send them a thank you. But I have some other thank yous to send out. So I'm using this sentiment from Simply Said. Rather than saying thanks, I can write on the inside whatever I wanted to say, but I can on the outside use just a note, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a thank you card. So let's move these over here. Oh, and then I've got the basic beige. I think that's what this is called. Yeah, the basic beige ribbon. So something I did with a ribbon that I haven't done before is I ran it through the mini corrugated embossing folder. Hello, Lorraine Gregory Designs. You're in the UK. Welcome. What time is it in the UK? I'm not even sure what our time difference is. I know when I have some of the gals that follow me from Australia, they're usually like 13 or 14 hours ahead of me. So I'm guessing maybe it's Sunday by you already. Not quite 5:30 in the morning. Is that right? Sunday? So that would put you maybe 6 hours ahead of me because it's about 11:30 by me, 11:30 p.m. by me Saturday night. So anyway, welcome, Lorraine. Thanks for popping in. So back to my ribbon. I have never tried embossing my ribbon before. And I don't know if Stampin' Up! Had run through a video where they had, okay, so 6 hours ahead of me, 5:26 in the morning Sunday. Cool. You're an early bird. I'm a night owl, and you're an early bird. Because I'm certainly not up at 5:30 in the morning. So I think Stampin' Up! Had done something where they embossed some ribbon. And I think if I did this again, I would be inclined to put hairspray on my ribbon and then run it through my embossing folder so it keeps the texture a little bit better. Now you can, hopefully you can see this, and I'm not sure if it'll show up very well on the camera or not. but this is just a ribbon right off the spool. And this, I don't know if you can see some of the ribs in there, but I ran it the same way through the embossing folder, the mini embossing or the mini corrugated embossing folder, just like this. And then this one I put on very vanilla, just with some seal, and I ran it through this way. Now, I don't think I had seal in this one spot. I don't know if you can see that, but hopefully you can see where it did pick up the shape, and I think it's holding its shape a little bit better because I have it on the cardstock. But I figure where I didn't have the seal on here, I can always put my sentiment on top of there. So we'll see what we end up using. And this piece, I'm just gonna clip back on my spool because I can use that some other time. So, Lorraine, if you have never been here with me before, I am typically a messy stamper and a putsy stamper. So, sometimes I know what I'm doing and sometimes we just wing it. So, tonight we're just kind of winging it. So, I'm going to go ahead and score this, or cut it rather, at 4. Because that'll give me a little bit of the Blackberry Bliss border. And we might want to take just a little bit more off of there. Maybe I'll take another, let's take another 1/2 inch off of there. So let's put this to 3.5 instead. We are going to go the whole height of the card though, but I want to trim off the layer here, or the edge. You're putsy and messy too? Awesome. I love having people who are in my camp. You're my people. So this one I just took off that blank space on the one end, and then I'm going to trim this at 5.5 because I do want it to go the full length of my card. Because in my head, I'm thinking that will look nicer. And I kind of like having it offset because this is 3 by 4.25, so it's a weird size, but I was doing some samples, so I'm just using up these samples. So that'll go something like this, but I'm going to hang on to this. I'm going to hang on to these because I can probably use those with something else. And I'm going to just get rid of my trimmer here. And I thought what we could do, this is going to be, since I cut out some of these pieces ahead of time, this should be just a pretty quick card. So I need to decide if I want to do this ribbon that has a little bit of texture or this one that has a little bit more. I think I kind of like the thicker layer. Hello, Emily. I know these colors together are gorgeous, aren't they? So this was accidental, but I figured since it worked for that piece, I'm just going to use up the pieces tonight. You might have been with me, Emily, for when I did these. I don't remember. You've been here before with me, but anyway. I think I kind of like the broader piece of the ribbon. What do you think? But I think what I'll be doing is I'll trim it for this, or I'll wrap it around. I could probably score it and wrap it around. That might look more finished. And then I'm going to put my just a note on here, and we're going to add some foliage pieces to just accentuate that sunflower, I think. What do you think? Quick and easy, since I had some of these things prepped already. And I might not even need all of these leaves, but I kind of like it. What do you think? We'll start out while you contemplate. And when you type, Lorraine, I don't know, I don't remember you commenting on my videos before. If you have, I apologize. But I do have a little bit of a delay when I'm watching my iPad to when the responses have come in. Sometimes I think it's a little delayed. So if I don't answer right away, I'm trying to watch comments as they come in, and sometimes I don't follow along really well because I get wrapped up in what I'm doing. All right, so I think we'll be good here. Circles are very forgiving. And I just like to hold, I don't press it necessarily very hard on my cardstock, but I do hold it there so that the ink can soak in a little bit. All right, and then this stamp obviously has been loved before. It's one that I've used numerous times. And this is still damp cool. Sometimes if I have a new stamp, you can tell this one's been used plenty. But when I have a new stamp, if I'm not getting a good image when I try it out, like these haven't been tried before, I will put a little bit of Versamark. I'll stamp it on Versamark first and just let it sit a little bit. The Versamark dries slower, so then to me it seems like it just helps my colored ink stick a little better. It might be all in my head, but you know, in my head at least it works. All right, so we'll set that aside. All right, and I can get rid of this because that's the only thing I'm going to stamp. The inside can be almost anything. What I will probably do is use this not embossed with that mini corrugated, and then I will put this, I'll cut it down so it's about the same size for the inside, and then I'll put probably a note card that same size on Very Vanilla inside. Yeah, Versamark works really good, doesn't it, Emily? So let's go ahead and trim this piece, or I'm going to score it actually, so that it's 3.5. So let me get my trimmer back out, and we'll get that cutting blade out of the way. So if I want 3.5 inches, let's just score it here, and that will help me wrap it around the card. And then we'll just turn it over, and I'll do just a little bit more than 3.5 so it has some space to wrap around. And we'll score that one, and hopefully it worked. Woohoo! Oh, I love it when it kind of works. It's a little tight. I should probably have done it a little bit looser. So let's just do another one just a little further out, and we'll make like a little pocket almost. We'll see if that works a little bit better. And it won't show either way. Oh, that's better. So if we did that first score anywhere, and then the second score, I guess I'm at 3 and, well, maybe 4 5/8. Yeah, go to about 3 5/8 maybe for your other piece, if you're going to do it the same way. This is the one with the cardstock on the back and the seal to hold the ribbon on, and then I ran it through the corrugated folder. So let's go ahead and put this on so that we can get rid of some of these loose pieces. And I like to use my Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue in very thin layers because it does give me a little bit of wiggle room, but it holds good. Got a little bit of dust on here. I'm not sure what that's from. I have no idea what that's from. Normally I would think it was embossing powder, but I have not been embossing over here for a while. All right, so you can see I kind of shimmied that just a little bit, placing it on my card, but I love the texture. Not just that it looks textured, but when I actually ran it through that mini corrugated embossing folder, that it actually is textured. And I guess there's just a little bit showing there. Doesn't matter. So what I want to do with this layer then is I'm going to take my snips. And it was a sad day when I found out the manufacturer that does these snips for Stampin' Up! Is not making them anymore. That was a sad day. So I have several pair. Hopefully they will last me until the next best pair of snips comes out. I think some of the ones I've used have been Westcott. I have some Westcott. I've got some titanium ones that I use. These are pretty nice too, but the tip is not nearly as fine as our snips are, so hopefully. Yeah, I really like that, the corrugated embossing folder. Now, it wasn't too awful long ago, but it's probably longer than I can specify, that Stampin' Up! Had a corrugated embossing folder, and it was like wide wale corduroy, where this is like thinner corduroy. And I compared them, and they are quite different. But I liked that one a lot too. All right, so this I'm just roughing these up. And I don't really care here. You know, I ripped some of the paper. It doesn't really matter. Let's get some of this dust out of the way. It was pretty warm here today and humid. So I have my ceiling fan on in here. I don't usually work with the ceiling fan on because I get cold. So the other thing that I thought I would do is, with this, although I do kind of like these edges, can you see that where we've got, you can see the white, the basic white peeking through there? I thought what I could do, and maybe I'll just play on this one a little bit, because it wouldn't, I thought when I roughed it up that what I could do is add a little color to the edges. But I don't think I'm going to, because that kind of takes away from the rough appearance of the edge. I'll have to think on that one, but for this one I think I'm going to leave it that way. We'll go with my first thought. All right, so I think we'll put this on dimensionals just because we can. And I'm going to use the dark ones, the black ones, because they're cut and ready to go, and I like to get rid of some of these partial sheets when I have them. Never waste the dimensionals, right? Here's a tag along one from another sheet, but I don't think that's going to stick, so we'll get rid of that. Stow away. There. And I'll put just a couple of these in the middle for support. Now, before I do that, I want to make sure I get this little guy on here. Oh, whoops. That was going to go around my corrugated sheet, wasn't it? Well, let's see if I can. I can't. I guess we're just going to you know what I could do is maybe flag that end. Let's see what that looks like. So I could wrap one side here and make it look like I knew what I was doing and didn't forget what I was going to do. And then this side, we could maybe put a little flag on the end. We'll see if it doesn't look too dumb. We'll see. All that work to get it situated. You ladies were supposed to remind me. Don't forget the ribbon. Oh well. Nobody will know except us. All right, so this is going to go here. This will go here. This, maybe we should tuck that. I kind of like that tucked rather than just sitting on top. If we tuck that, we can line that line up with the flag, and then we can add some of those under there, some of it here, and then we can tuck some flowers, or some leaves rather. I think that'll work. And then we'll see. We don't have to go crazy, I suppose, but I don't know, those I like the leaves. What do you think? I think that's a recovery. I think we'll be able to work with that. So, all right. Let's go ahead and get this on here. Let's put some glue. Let's first put, oh, we can just use this. This will hold this piece here. All right. And then we'll put some glue here to just give it a little extra. And we'll put some glue on here for that little ribbon strip here. All right. So, yeah, we'll save it. Nobody will know. The people I'm going to give it to, they're not going to know that I decided to do something different than my original plan. They'll be like, oh, what a pretty card. And that's all thanks to the Stampin' Up! Products, because without those, I would not be nearly as happy with my projects. You know, I used to just make, I made my wedding invitations when I got married. It's been 13 years now. My husband and I were married previously. Oh, and that was supposed to go under here. But I made our wedding invitations. We got married on a small boat in Lake Geneva. Not that if you're not in the United States, if you're not in Wisconsin, you don't know what Lake Geneva is, but it's kind of a touristy area. But it's a really quaint little lake. The Wrigley, if you're familiar with Wrigley Gum, they were one of the landowners around Lake Geneva, so there's some very gorgeous estates around there. But anyway, we got married on that boat, and in part we did it so that we wouldn't have to invite a lot of people, because the boat is not very big. And we did a double wedding with my husband's sister. It is a beautiful area, Emily. We love going to Lake Geneva. It's about, I don't know, maybe a 25-minute drive for us to get there. Not very far at all, really. All right. And I think I'm going to have to snip this off because I don't know if I can still, I guess we can still tuck. Do you think that's too tall? I think maybe it's a little too tall. But anyway, I don't remember where I was going with that. We got married on a boat, so we wouldn't have to invite a lot of people because the boat was small. I don't remember where I was going with that thought. If I remember, I'll tell you. It's one of the problems when you get older. Yeah, I forget. Forget where I was going with that thought. If anybody else remembers where I was going with that, let me know. I'd love to catch up. So, yeah. It seemed relevant at the time. Yeah, I think I'll do that one up there somewhere. We'll go. Well, maybe we'll just tuck that behind there. That looks pretty good. They kind of look like sunflower leaves, right? And we probably could use a few embellishments. That looked a little crooked. Let me try to put some of my debris away. My scissors really need to be cleaned. Oh, and I made my own. That's right, because I was saying I wouldn't be nearly as creative without Stampin' Up! Stuff. Thank you so much. I knew it was relevant at the time. But anyway, I made my wedding invitations for our wedding. And luckily, I didn't have to make very many of them. But what I did was I'm looking for some embellishments. What I did was I made like old, you know when you used to fly and you had the ticket that they had the perforated end and they kept part of it and you got to keep part of it. Well, I made my wedding invitations to look like that. I had the perforated part as the RSVP card that they could send back to us. And that was basically their boarding pass onto the boat. So that was a lot of work because I had to go find the punches I wanted and the paper I wanted and the multiple kinds of paper because you had to have more than one color. And there was just so much to get these, 50 or so invitations, I think was all we did. But there was a lot. In here, all I have to do is, Stampin' Up! Has all these colors, they go together. I'm just going to order those, and guess what? They get delivered right to my door. It's perfect. I love it. All right, so I think these might actually look good just like they are. I was thinking I could color them, but I don't know that I need to. So I'm going to do a couple of little ones here, I think. And then I'll do a medium size one over here, maybe tucked a little below that. And I see a little bit peeking out here of this ribbon card. I wonder if I can trim that off, or maybe I should just glue it some more. Maybe I'll just glue it, that might be safer. Glue these layers together. We'll see if that works. Whoops, wrong cap. But anyway, it's so nice that all of the things from Stampin' Up! Are coordinating, and I don't have to run to half a dozen different stores to get the things I want. All right, so I think, do you think that's enough embellishments, or do we need 2 more somewhere splattered on there? What do you think? And here's all my extra pieces so I can make another version another day. Any ideas? Is that enough embellishments? Stick with 3 or go to 5? Because I need to do odd numbers because that's the way I roll. So let's do another, that one's got a little piece of glue on it. Let's do one more tucked under here. And another little one. Maybe, I like it over here, I think. There. So we have kind of a little triangle here. There's a triangle here. There's a triangle here. Lots of triangles. All right, so I only just now saw your comment come in, Emily. So 3, 5, it doesn't really matter, right? So that's what we have tonight. And these were the antique pearls. So I didn't really do much stamping other than with the Blackberry Bliss, but I pulled these out so that the colors were clear on what we were doing. So that's it. That's the card for tonight. And like I said, I'm going to trim this down to 3.5. Yep, 3.5. I could just do that now and finish this quick. Get the right trimmer here. Triangles do always look good. There's something, with art people that they say it creates balance, or it gives your eyes a place to rest or something when you're looking at the card. All right, so we'll put this down. And I don't usually use the seal in my cards, but we're going to today. All right, so this is going to go here because once I set this down, it is down. And I'm going to have this off center as well. Whew, that worked out pretty good. And then this piece I think was 3 by 4 1/4. 3 by 4 1/4. So I'm going to go get a piece of Very Vanilla because I don't think I have, 3 do our 4 1/4. And I'm just going to trim these edges. We're going to go with 3. What luck. And then this will go in here, and I can write my little note on it. So that's kind of how that'll look, and it'll be balanced that way to me because the inside carries over the theme from the outside. It just won't have all of the texture. So that's it. That's all I have for you tonight. Thanks for popping in. It's always nice to have somebody join me and gives me somebody to chit chat with. So Lorraine, thanks for popping in. Emily, thanks for coming back. And until next time. Oh, thanks. Yeah, the off center. I think it just, oh, you know, I'm going to cut some more of those, and I think I'll tuck those on the inside too, because I think that'll just look nice. But I don't have to do that now. I'll add that on. I will post a picture of this on my Facebook page, which is also Lori's Little Bit of Crafting. And if there's something that you've made or you've been inspired by this card, feel free to add a comment to the picture, include your picture of whatever it is you make. I don't think there's a way for you to add pictures here on YouTube. So I appreciate when people share their ideas because that's what we're all here for. We're here for sharing our creativity. So thanks for popping in. And until next time, happy crafting.